I guess the Sound of Music. No, Phantom of the Opera. Like that musical is like my favorite. I seen it on Broadway when we went.
Really?
Yeah, on a trip with a band.
Going classical.
I know. It was really well done, and I can't wait to go back there and see it again or see a new show.
My favorite's got to be Hadestown. I saw that when it came to Detroit a couple years ago. That was really cool.
Oh, nice. Sweeney Todd for me.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
I have no idea what those two are, but I'm going to act like a casual scrub and be like, yeah, man.
I'll have to show you Sweeney Todd at some point.
I recommend you check out Hadestown, Garrett. It's your kind of thing, I think. It's steampunk Greek mythology.
All right.
Yeah, with a very gospel jazz kind of sound to it.
Sounds fun.
But we're not here tonight to discuss musicals. We are here to discuss Geoff Keighley's 2023 Game Awards. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but we have a little bit of a video game-based podcast here to the side, you know, just a little hobby we do. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Shit.
We do have responsibilities.
We have lives outside of this show, believe it or not.
Oh, I feel called out now.
So I figured, why not do an episode on this year's Game Awards? You know, I think this would be a nice way for us to go through the categories, give our 2 cents on everything, cast our vote in.
And at least it brings like the more modern games up. You know, we hardly ever talk about them. We're always talking about these backwards incompatible 5-year-old geezer games.
What's the most recent game we've talked about on the show?
I think it was the remake of Resident Evil, if you're gonna count that, yeah.
Well, the Game Awards certainly counts remakes, but we'll get into that in a moment. So, just a few things before we dive in. Keep in mind, these are our personal opinions. We are going at this from our own perspectives. Now, keep in mind, we're only human. There's only so many hours in the day. We haven't played every single game that's come out this year. I know that there's a lot of games nominated that I have not personally played. Now, I have tried to keep up to date on gaming this year in general, and I've seen trailers and some gameplay of most of these games, and I've gone through some of the nominees and just did a little bit of research into them just so I can have some sort of opinion on it. So I just want to say there are going to be some games nominated that I have no real hands-on experience with, and I think the same goes for you guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I don't have a whole lot of research put into them because outside of like trying to research for podcast episodes and everything else going on in my life, I haven't had exactly time to go into them too much. I tried to when we planned for this episode a bit, but yeah.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is we're not going to be able to give a very fair assessment of every category and nominee just because we haven't been able to play every game nominated. So I'm going to try and be a little fair with things based on what I've heard and everything, but biases and all that based on my personal experience. Second, award shows at the end of the day are just an excuse for corporate executives to pat themselves on the back. Just because a game does or doesn't get nominated or even win an award, that doesn't automatically make it the most deserving or even the best in that category. I know for sure that there's a lot of games out there that get snubbed and weren't even nominated, and games that have won awards weren't the most deserving of that category.
Not to mention all the indie games and stuff like that come out throughout the year that are just completely unknown, could be so much better in every way.
There's a lot of games that get shafted and overlooked, and there are other games that get a little too much praise and too much attention. But end of the day, this is just a fun way to reflect on the year and talk about some of the highlights of the year of video games. You know, it's a good conversation between friends, and really, you shouldn't take it too seriously. With all that being said, let's take this award show seriously.
Yeah!
I also think that since it's our first time doing it, please be gentle with us. We're going to try to do better. I promise.
I think we should put out there, we are not by any means professionals. We do not, make a living from this in any means.
They come at us with pitchforks and just start stabbing at our doors.
Yeah, this is a passion project.
We do this for you!
Yeah.
All right. Let's kick things off with the first category, starting with Best Esports Event. Okay, here are the nominees. 2023 League of Legends World Championship, Blast TV Paris Major 2023, EVO 2023, the International Dota 2 Championship 2023, and Valorant Champions 2023. I'm gonna be honest, the only one of these I actually watched was EVO.
I don't really pay attention to this kind of thing.
I liked EVO 2023. I did watch a little bit of League of Legends World Championship, but I don't know. It was just like every single other one that was in the past. Nothing really changes, and it's not a game for me, and I think that's why my bias is towards it. Valorant is a close second, though, just because I have played the game, but again, bias. But EVO 2023 is my vote.
I just can't really say anything on it because, again, this is not my, sphere of knowledge. I don't pay any attention to, esports at all.
Yeah, I was definitely more into EVO back when Smash Ultimate was at its peak because I was really into fighting games around that time, but I did watch a little bit of this year, so I guess EVO by default.
Woo!
Yay, we did it! Democracy wins again.
Yay! Good on you, EVO. All right, next category. Best Esports Coach. I feel like we're going to have a similar issue here. The nominees are Christine Potter-Chi, Danny Zonik Sorensen, Jordan Gunba Graham, Remy Xtkizi, I don't know exactly.
X2QZs.
And Yoon Homi Sung Young. So I don't know who any of these people are.
I want to say Remy. Just because he is looking very charismatic.
I just like his name.
Let's vote for Remy.
Okay.
All right, Remy it is then.
Yay!
Cool.
We did it. We're totally putting so much in this podcast.
All right, next category. Best esports team.
Damn it!
Yeah.
Team Vitality.
We got Evil Geniuses for Valorant, Fnatic for Valorant, Gaimin Gladiators, Dota 2, JD Gaming, League of Legends, and Team Vitality, Counter-Strike.
Just because I don't think Dota 2 gets enough representation anymore, I'm gonna have to go with the Gladiators.
Yeah, I mean, of all the typical esports you see here, Counter-Strike's the only one I regularly play. Not competitively, just casually. I dabbled with Dota and Valorant back in the day, but didn't really care for them, and I am never touching League. Arcane aside.
Wait, I have something to talk about now. So I've noticed a trend in gamers that get into esports now. I've noticed that they're starting to get more beefy and more buff and stuff like that. Like, they work out. And I tell you what, it is quite game changing to see these huge dudes doing like super fast reflexes because their muscles are jacked up. It just really brings a whole dynamic to the game. So I just want to add that point to our little podcast.
Hey, maybe that's why they're so good at the game, because they get proper exercise. Because isn't that also good for your brain too? Like getting proper exercise?
No, they just have really good gaming chairs.
Ah, yeah, they got the PewDiePie gaming chair.
Yeah, exactly. They got the stress ball right by them to kind of like keep that grip strength up.
All right, so I guess Gaimin Gladiators for Dota 2. The only one I would vote for is Team Vitality, but again, that's just because Counter-Strike's the only one of these games I really care for.
I'm just going with Gladiators for representation of Dota 2.
All right, are we out of the esports yet? No. Best esports athlete.
Who are these people? I have no idea.
We have Lee Faker Song Hyuk. Again, I'm going to butcher some of these names.
Well, you can't go for him. He's Faker.
Matthew Ziwu Herba, Max Demon 1, Mazanov, Paka Hydra, Rusiwise, Park Ruler J. Hugh. I butchered those names, I'm sure. So
you're missing the Apex Legend ones all the way at the end.
Philip Imperial Hall Dosen for Apex Legends.
Imperial Hal. Just because I know he is a very influential Apex content creator. And not to mention just, I like him, I like his personality, and I play Apex Legends, so I gotta go with him.
Apex was another game I dabbled in, and I did enjoy it more than CSGO. Not that I dislike CSGO, I just really liked Apex, so I guess Apex then.
I've played 3 rounds of Apex. I don't really have anyone I play it with.
I'm sorry, but Faker looks like the stereotypical LoL player a little bit because of the glasses. The glasses bring it together.
I mean, Ziwu looks like the stereotypical CSGO player.
True that.
All right, so I guess we're giving it to Imperial Hall for Apex Legends, just again by default.
Works for me.
Yeah, we're totally kicking off. Come on, baby, bring me the games.
Well, once we get out of the esport category, like best esports game,
yes,
we have Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, PUBG, mobile, and Valorant.
Why is it specifically mobile?
Yeah, that is weird. I have played played all of these games except League.
I'd have to go with Val. It's the only one of these I actually play.
Val is basically like Counter-Strike, but with super abilities. I mean, I will give it credit where
It's like CSGO and Overwatch combined almost.
Yeah, it's CSGO meets Overwatch. I played it for a hot minute, didn't really care for it. It just didn't click with me.
That's fair.
PUBG, I played a lot when it came out, but, it got buried, I feel like, by other Battle Royale games. Yeah.
Fortnite was the big one.
It's like the Call of Duty gamers, like Battle Royale.
Dota 2, again, I played, and I liked it, but MOBAs just aren't really my thing. And then Counter-Strike 2. Now, Counter-Strike 2 is interesting because the reason it's called Counter-Strike 2 and not Global Offensive is because Valve completely remade the game.
Yeah.
They made a sequel on the Source Engine 2, I believe it was. Like, they ported the whole game over to a new engine, and it's essentially a sequel/remake of CSGO. I guess out of all of these, I'd want to give it to Counter-Strike 2, mostly because it's the one I've played the most recently.
Shared opinion.
That's fine. Yeah, shared opinion. Go with that one.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Yeah.
Counter-Strike.
Woo! Counter-Strike is really, really winning it this year.
Wow.
Okay, Content Creator of the Year.
I don't know any of these guys.
Iron Mouse, People Make Games, Quackity, Spreen, and Spearrepic. Who are these people?
I like Iron Mouse. She's great. I'll have to go with Iron Mouse.
I'm only going with Iron Mouse because I feel like that would piss a lot of people off. Because there's been backlash on VTubers and stuff like that.
Iron Mouse is a genuinely nice, sweet person and has an amazing fan base.
Okay, Iron Mouse, I guess?
Yeah. It's the only person here I'm familiar with, and I know they're a pretty good person from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think I've heard their name before. My problem with this category is it feels very selective of the kind of content creators that get nominated. Like, I feel like there's a lot of big content creators out there that are just never gonna get nominated because they're not, I guess, marketable or appealing to mainstream audiences.
Yeah, and plus it's like, a lot of like other ones too are either just like don't play like games that would work for this kind of stuff.
This category just feels very biased towards a certain type of content creator, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alright, but Iron Mouse, I suppose.
Oh, geez, the face just staring at me.
It's so cute.
Just how it crops it.
All right, here we go.
Most anticipated game. Okay, now first of all, I got a bone to pick with this category. I just feel like this category is so unnecessary and redundant. It just feels so presumptuous, It's like most anticipated game essentially boils down to which game either has the best marketing or the most name recognition. And it assumes that all these games are going to be amazing. Like, I think it's fair to say that half these games end up getting mixed or even negative reception.
Because they got the most marketing and stuff.
My problem with this category, most anticipated game, is that it just feels so hollow, It's
No,
like...
I agree. It's a bullshit category that I don't think should be here.
A sequel to a super AAA mega franchise. Wow, everyone's excited for that. Like, there's a ton of games probably next year that no one's heard of that might take the gaming world by storm,
Yeah, and plus there's so many games that can't get like those big anticipated releases because they're made by small indie creators.
Right. This is just a dumb category, but whatever. Here are the nominees. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8.
So Star Wars Outlaws sounds like a cool name, but it's made by Ubisoft, and that's the only thing that's kind of keeping me back. Like, given with the track record and how they kind of done their franchises and dug them into a hole, I'm not really looking for Star Wars Outlaws because just the record they have. Final Fantasy VII, Square Enix, I always did like them. I think this is going to be part 2. I think the first remake was pretty good.
The trailer seems promising, and I did enjoy the first remake. I know a lot of people didn't like it because it only did the Midgar section, but I still enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Remake for what it was, so if Rebirth is anything to go off of what they've shown so far, I think it's going to be a very solid remake part 2.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to a lot.
That said, I really liked Hades. Hades was one of my personal favorites the year it came out, so Hades 2, I'm really interested in Hades 2.
What about you, Zaid? What's your kind of runner-up in terms of what you're looking forward to?
So of course, like Final Fantasy is like the one that I'm most looking forward to right now. I still haven't played Hades 1, but I'd like to, and by default, Hades 2 is kind of the one I'm looking forward to as a runner-up. I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I'm not interested in the games really, and people don't like that, so sue me. I don't give a fuck. Like a Dragon, I don't know anything on it, and Tekken 8, I'm not a big fighting game person.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a big fighting game person, so it's like those have to be my two defaults.
I like Tekken, but personally I'm more of a Street Fighter kind of guy.
I was always into Mortal Kombat when it comes to fighters, but again, even with Mortal Kombat, I suck at it. I'm mostly button spam.
I like Tekken for its characters and the style they kind of give their fighters. Not to mention, with the style also comes the strategies of fighting games. Like, every single one has their own strategies because of different movesets and hitboxes. But I would say right now, for me, Final Fantasy most anticipated, Tekken 8 second anticipated, Star Wars Outlaws least anticipated for me.
Well, from the vibe I'm getting, I think we're leaning towards Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and maybe Hades 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say Hades 2, but I'm willing to give it to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I'm going with Final Fantasy VII personally.
That image right there with Sephiroth and Zack and Cloud is just... Mwah.
All right, best adaptation. All right, I like this category. So we got Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and Twisted Metal. So the only one of these I have not seen is Gran Turismo. That was the movie that came out earlier this year. And I only saw the first couple episodes of Twisted Metal, but I liked it for what it was. I feel like this is gonna come down to either The Last of Us or arguably the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
I liked Castlevania Nocturne. I really enjoyed the original Castlevania Netflix series, but my problem with Nocturne is it does kind of suffer from that first season syndrome where it's mostly setup and it hasn't really gotten into the meat of things yet.
So... me personally, like, even in the first season of Castlevania, you got that setup, but you also got that dialogue. And that was what really drew me to the first Castlevania. And really, Castlevania Nocturne, it's like... it does have its sometimes witty banter, but I just feel like, I don't know, they focus more on fights than they actually do the dialogue and the connections between characters.
Yeah, the characterization definitely felt lacking in Nocturne compared to the original, but again, it's only been the first season.
I've been kind of like slacking with watching stuff personally, so outside of all of these, the only thing I've watched is the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so that's gonna have to be mine by default, not based on actual opinion, because I can't give an opinion on this one due to the fact I just haven't seen the others.
Yeah, you and I went and saw that together, Zay. That was a fun time.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I do think it is a good adaptation.
Yeah, I thought the Mario Brothers movie was the definition of fun.
Peaches!
Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong? Come on.
I mean, sure, it is a shameless grab for nostalgia, but it's still enjoyable. It doesn't stop it from being an enjoyable movie.
I feel like they did enough, though, to not make it feel like a shameless cash grab.
I more say that because I want to address that a lot of people are going to feel that way, though I'm not saying a lot of people are going to watch this and feel that way.
Look, I'm not going to tell you that the Super Mario Brothers movie is a super deep, introspective movie, and even by kid movie standards, I felt like it felt very rushed, like it felt very fast-paced, like, okay, on to the next action scene, on to the next set piece. Oh, here's another Easter egg, remember that from that one Mario game? But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, it was definitely like, it felt like that, but there still felt like there was heart into it. Like there still felt like they were trying to do something here. Even if it's just a shameless cash grab, it still shouldn't stop it from being an enjoyable experience for people. Especially when it's definitely curated towards kids if you watch it.
It's definitely one of the better Illumination movies.
Yeah.
I thought it did everything it set out to be. It is a safe, riskless Mario movie. It's Nintendo dipping their toes into making movies again for the first time in decades. It's not amazing. It could definitely do with some improvement in some places for the characters and dialogue and all that. But overall, I had fun with it, and I think that's what the movie accomplished. Fun.
And I showed it to a friend after it was released finally out of theaters, and they really enjoyed watching it too. It's it's just a fun movie. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on when they talk about movies and stuff like that, is that they just miss out on the fact that it can be fun. It doesn't have to be perfect.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie, favorite character for a lot of people was either Bowser or the Blue Star.
Yeah, the Luma.
The Blue Star is so depressing.
Life is meaningless.
I just can't wait to be released into the endless darkness void.
I thought Charlie Day as Luigi did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yes. It did feel like, though, that they did take out Luigi. I wanted Luigi to get a little bit more love. They took out Luigi for most of it, and then he just popped back in when it was convenient.
I wish they did a bit more of a Luigi Mansion type thing to it too. That would have been really cool. Or just like a movie based around a Luigi Mansion, I think would be fun.
Yeah, like a little Halloween thing. I think we talked about that in our episode on it.
It doesn't even have to be like a full-length movie, just a short for them to release or something like that.
Yeah.
And of course, Jack Black as Bowser killing it.
Oh, yeah. Peaches! I can't get over it. Everyone at I was working on a labor and delivery floor at the time, and all the mothers were just like, Peaches, like just singing in their rooms, just waiting for the baby to be born, and they would sing that. It was funny.
But let's talk about what's probably going to win this category. HBO's The Last of Us. Now,
yes, I've heard amazing things.
I watched this and wow, this was breathtaking.
It was so well done and added so many layers, such as like Bill's backstory. I thought was really well done. Not to mention added a few things to the infection, kind of made it a little bit more, I don't know if it would say deadly.
Honestly, my opinion of The Last of Us as a game has kind of gone down slightly because of this adaptation, because I realized how much better suited for TV The Last of Us story is.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess, like the Walking Dead scenario. Like, it did so well as a TV series, but I don't think like making a game based around that would be nearly as good. I would really like to eventually get around to watching The Last of Us. I've heard it's absolutely amazing, and because of what I've heard about it, I do also believe it will be the winner of the awards.
Well, it's the prestige drama of these categories. But the stuff they added, the stuff they changed, I think it was all for the better. There were some scenes to me that were just so chilling, and I think it was episode 3, the story with Bill and his boyfriend lover, like that was just so touching and heartwarming, and I got a little teary-eyed at the end of that episode. And the casting was perfect. Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie, just perfect. They fit their characters to a T.
And they really captured the connection between Joel and Ellie and kind of added a little bit more flavor to it, I felt. It was still their own thing, but it didn't feel out of place to what would be The Last of Us.
Yeah, it just nailed every aspect of the game and translated it perfectly into television. I think this is one of the best video game adaptations out there.
Thank you, HBO.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think I've talked about this with you before, Garrett, but the same people who made this, the writers, I think, they also did Chernobyl on HBO. And watching this really makes me want a Half-Life series on HBO done in this style. Could you imagine, like, the events of Black Mesa done in, like, a Chernobyl or Last of Us style TV series? Oh.
Yeah, and it's more like a survival thriller kind of feel. Who's going to play Gordon Freeman?
Morgan Freeman.
There we go.
Anyway, so I guess it really comes down to The Last of Us or Mario Brothers movie. I feel like both of these are good adaptations, but in different ways.
I want to say The Last of Us just because I felt that was given a lot of fleshing out, whereas Super Mario Bros. Is like just a fun movie. Like I won't say that the talent behind the animation and the direction and music was not subpar. It was phenomenal.
I'd say the Mario movie is like a really good milkshake. It's a very fun dessert, but The Last of Us is a 3-course fine meal. You know, you are getting your fill.
Yeah, it's the main course. It's like what you're going there for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Last of Us.
All right, what's the next?
Best multiplayer.
Baldur's Gate 3, let's go!
All right, hold on. The nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Okay, I know you guys are going to be biased towards Baldur's Gate 3, and I know we've all been playing it together in our own campaign, the three of us.
Baldur's Gate 3.
The legend of Wendell, Silmer, and Felix lives on.
It's just, okay, so Baldur's Gate 3, even though it has technical issues and sometimes kind of BS that I have found, like sometimes your movement wouldn't be there when the game started and we couldn't find out a reason why. Even though there's those technical issues, it's a game where like you don't take super seriously. You have fun and you do have a serious story and you can get invested in it, and the characters are so well written and the world is so well designed and fleshed out. That's all I gotta say about it.
I feel like it does like one of those things where it's like the game is just so enjoyable, where yes, you have those issues, but I've noticed myself, like the moment that I get past that issue, I don't give two shits about it anymore. Where in other games, like, that'll bother me for a bit. But the game's just so enjoyable and so much fun that I don't really care about that mess up, because in the end, it has not really changed my experience because I'm having such a good time.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Zaid. The multiplayer for Baldur's Gate 3, it definitely has a lot of bugs and glitches, and sometimes it'll just randomly kick you. Some things might not work when you're playing multiplayer, but end of the day...
I think the kicking is like an issue that we're dealing with, because I don't deal with that with other people. It's mostly with our group. So I think it's just our, like, hosting situation.
It adds a little chaos to our campaign.
Yeah, I'm willing to overlook some of those issues because I'm just having fun playing it with you guys.
I do want to throw one thing in that I'm thinking on is, like, I feel like some of the issues we deal with though is due to multiplayer and the fact that we can all move around and do our own thing, but then battles switch it to a RTS style game, and I think that might deal with be the cause of the glitches in the game.
But that aside, let's take a look at some of these other games, let's play fair. Diablo 4. So, I personally don't like Blizzard as a company. I know they are now owned by Microsoft, but still, a lot of the problems with Blizzard are still lingering for the time being. I have a buddy of mine who's really into Diablo. Shout out to you, Brian, friend of the podcast. I know you're listening. He was desperately trying to get me into Diablo 4 because he's a big Diablo fan, but I'm like, it looks cool, but I just don't want to play a Blizzard game, man.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say this much about it. I agree with the whole thing with Blizzard, and I have played Diablo 4. I enjoyed Diablo 3 when it came out a lot. Played this game. It was fun, but I have yet to beat the game because for me, it gets stale very quickly. Like, it's a very stale game to me.
Yeah, from what I've gathered, everyone had like a really fun week with it and then immediately forgot about it.
I would put Diablo 4 for me, like if it showed up earlier, as most anticipated, because I was looking forward to this game.
Yeah, do you know how much KFC I had to eat to get that beta code?
It's like everyone was desperate for this, and then they dropped down the mobile game instead. That pissed everyone off. How does people not remember how anticipated this game was?
Don't y'all have phones? Remember that?
Yeah, that was... Ugh.
It's my turn to go on rants.
Party Animals, I've seen the trailer for it. It's like a Fall Guys type of thing. It's cute, but it's like Fall Guys,
It looks fun.
It's lighthearted fun to really destroy friendships.
Isn't it kind of like just like PvP Fall Guys kind of, instead of like race to the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess Fall Guys is technically still PvP, but this one is like you can sumo slam your friends. Yes.
It's like fighting type thing. I watched some videos on it. It looks fun, and I'd like to play it, but
I like Fall Guys, so maybe I would like Party Animals.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably enjoy it.
Alright, Street Fighter 6. Okay, so I really liked Street Fighter 6. I thought its single-player story mode is exactly what this series has desperately needed. I played 5 when it came out, and those of you who remember, Street Fighter 5 at launch was very bare bones. It lacked a lot of content. And I feel like Street Fighter 6 kind of feels like an apology for that. Capcom's like, okay, we're gonna make it up to you. We know Street Fighter 5 was kinda so here you go. Here's a full-on single-player campaign pain for you to enjoy. And I really like Street Fighter 6. I got into it when it came out. I just loved it.
I was personally surprised by how well Street Fighter 6 did. I wasn't particularly interested in Street Fighter, and when I heard that people were actually liking it, even Moist Critical, one of the ones who kind of keeps me in the loop about drama and games in general, Street Fighter 6 is overall a pretty decent fighting game from what I've seen.
It's exactly the kind of refreshment that Street Fighter has needed, not just in the gameplay, but the presentation as well. It's so vibrant and full of energy and spectacle that really puts a adrenaline shot into the Street Fighter games. I recommend it. It's also very much catered towards new players. For people who aren't super into fighting games, it's very streamlined. There's alternate controls you can turn on that make the gameplay so much easier to understand and use.
Again, my thing with fighting games isn't necessarily like it being hard to learn how to play. It's just it's not my style to just play a game like that. And so it's just not really something I'm too, like, interested in watching. Well, not watching, but playing, because, like, just that appeal of, like, oh, I'm just gonna go punch this guy until his health bar is done, and then go into another round, do that again, and then that style of gameplay doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, but that's the thing, too. It's not just run in there and beat up a guy.
I mean, that's most fighting games I've played. Like, anytime I play, it's like, here's cutscene, and then you fight this guy, and then another cutscene, and then you fight this guy.
And then we have Mario Wonder. Good game, but the multiplayer for me isn't one of the highlights. I've only played Mario Wonder with other people once, and it was alright. Still a good game, but I kind of preferred playing it single player. I just felt like the other players kind of got in the way, you know?
Chase is determined to get the star.
So, personally, for multiplayer, I want to give it to Street Fighter 6, but you guys seem to be all in on Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
Baldur's Gate
3.
Baldur's Gate.
Alright, rule of majority. Sorry, Street Fighter. You'll have your time in the sun eventually. Alright, best sports racing game. We have EA Sports FC24, F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged, and The Crew Motorfest. Only one of these I've played was Hot Wheels Unleashed.
I haven't played any of these.
I haven't played any of these, and I know that the esports FC24, my roommate recently had to buy it in order to play online game, because like you can't just stay in FC23 and play. You have to move on if you want to keep playing online, and I felt that was just really crappy, and I don't want to really give EA Sports any vote, so I would rather do Forza.
Plus, EA servers suck.
Alright, I guess Hot Wheels by default.
Okay, works for me.
Hot Wheels, beat that.
I mean, I was gonna just choose that one out of jokes, but...
Best Sim Strategy. Alright, we got a few interesting ones here. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, City Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, Pikmin 4. We've got some interesting nominees here.
Alright.
I feel so bad for Advance Wars because that game got fucked over.
I didn't even know it existed.
Well, it was supposed to come out in February of 2022, but it got delayed a whole year because of certain events that happened around that time.
Oh no.
This is a remake of a game that came out on the Game Boy Advance, and that game also kind of got fucked over too, because that came out on like September 10th, 2001. So the game opens up with a country that's supposed to be based off of Russia invading another country.
Oh no.
It was supposed to come out February of 2022. What happened in February of 2022?
Russia
The invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, so Nintendo was like, how about we don't put this game about a Russian invasion out? You know, maybe that's bad timing. So then it got pushed back a year. It came out early this year and everyone just forgot about it. Alright, City Skylines 2. Now, I have not played City Skylines 2, but I really do like the first City Skylines. It's one of my turn my brain off and kill time kind of games, you know? Just build a little city, just put a podcast or music on, you know? It's a nice chill game.
I mean, I get that. I've played a lot of games like that. I never really got into City Skylines themselves. I never actually owned the games. So I just kind of, I've played other games similar to it, and I'm pretty sure if I did play it, I'd enjoy it.
City Skylines 1 is, like I said, it's one of my comfort games. That said, from what I've heard, City Skylines 2 has kind of had a bit of a rough launch. I heard it's missing a lot of content, which for a game like this is kind of fair, you know? It's one of those games that they're going to add more to it as it goes on, but as it currently stands, it's a very hollow game right now. Company of Heroes 3. I have not played 3, but I have a lot of memories playing 1 and 2. I used to play Company of Heroes 1 LAN parties with my brother and our friends back in the day on like our low quality desktops and laptops. Man. Company of Heroes 2, I played through the campaign, I liked it, but the gameplay of 2 just didn't click with me as much as the first game did, you know? Mm-hmm. Fire Emblem Engage. Alright, Zaid, I know you and I are gonna have some thoughts on this one.
I really enjoyed this game. Pretty much binged through the game, like, whenever I had a chance. That's what I was playing, and had a lot of fun with it. The story was fun and enjoyable. It had issues, of course, but outside of, like, its issues, it was just really fun. I like these kind of, like, tactic-style games with just moving the little characters around and stuff like that. Because, like, before this, one of my favorite games of all time was Awakening. I loved that game. It was really fun.
Fire Emblem Engage is addicting. This was my first Fire Emblem game. Going into it, I wasn't sure what to expect exactly. I knew it was going to be a strategy game, but the gameplay of this just really clicked with me. I played tactical games like this before, and I've always liked it, so I just kind of got another itch to play Fire Emblem Engage. And yeah, okay. The gameplay, rock solid, very addicting, very satisfying.
Yes, it's very fun.
But the story and the writing and the characters, Jesus Christ.
It has issues. It does have issues, but it's fun. It's like a fun bad, in my opinion.
I want it to be a good dragon.
It's a fun bad.
Oh,
It's like, here's the thing. It felt like they're trying to make this game like a little bit more kids friendly compared to like the other ones, I guess, because the other ones were a little bit more darker and a bit grittier, I feel.
Their hair looks like ice cream.
It looks like toothpaste to me.
Oh, shoot. This is Red versus Blue, Fire Emblem Edition.
It literally is if you pay attention to the story, that is the story about his character. Like, it's just internal self, Red versus Blue.
I just think it was cool that they brought back some of the most famous Fire Emblem characters in this game as like spirits and advisors. Like, that was pretty cool. Marth is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal.
Yeah, and then they did that a bit more with like the bracelet deets in the DLC.
So, Engage. Gameplay, A+. Presentation, D-.
Though it's gonna have to be my pick because I haven't played Pikmin 4.
Okay, so Pikmin 4 is my pick because I loved Pikmin 4. Personally, I think Pikmin 3 was a little better gameplay-wise, but everything else, Pikmin 4 was way better. I really love riding around on Ochi. A lot of the gameplay refinement they did in this game, they made it, I know some people, hardcore Pikmin fans, complain that it's a bit casualified, but as someone who was kinda into Pikmin, but not super into it, I welcome these changes. Granted, after playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe, it was a bit of an adjustment to get used to some of the simplified controls, but overall, I think Pikmin 4, like Street Fighter 6, is a much needed refreshment to the series. Not that the series really needed it per se, but I think it's fair to say Pikmin 4 is a step in the right direction to making Pikmin a much bigger series than it is. So, I just really liked Pikmin 4. I think it's a solid game and one of my personal favorites of the year.
You know, just for that, I'll just concede and give like that choice to you.
City Skylines.
Well, here's the thing. How do we define a strategy game? Because I really like the gameplay of Engage, but Pikmin 4...
Okay, when it comes to strategy, I would have to put it, like, if Pikmin 4 is like any other Pikmin game with how it's put gameplay, strategy-wise, it has to go to Fire Emblem, in my opinion, then.
I think in terms of a strategy game, I like the gameplay of Fire Emblem Engage more, but I think an overall package, Pikmin 4 was the better, complete experience.
It sounds like Garrett has to come in and break this tie.
All right, Garrett, do you want the Colgate anime waifus or the plant bug people?
I have a D8 in front of me. I am going to roll this D8. Who wants to be odds? Who wants to be evens?
I'll be odds.
I'm fine with evens. I like the number 8. 8 is great.
All right, y'all. Well, it's odds, so it looks like it's Pikmin 4.
Yay, Pikmin! You hear that, Captain Olimar? You're going home.
That's fine.
Woohoo!
I wasn't gonna really argue on it too much because I mean I love Pikmin, though I'm gonna be honest, the only Pikmin game I've played is the Wii remake of the original. And I've been scared to play the other ones and fear that they won't live up to it.
Best family game. We have Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals again, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I feel like Party Animals would be a good, fun family game. It'll make the family just hate each other. Parents get divorced, and then 2 Christmases! Yay!
I heard Sonic Superstars was really solid.
I'm just gonna go with Sonic because I have a little nostalgia for Sonic games. I can't remember what the title was called. You took the control of like Sonic Team or Shadow Team or something like that and would travel across the levels.
Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure. And Sonic Superstars is kind of giving me that vibe. I don't know.
Well, I also really like Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I think that's a solid platforming experience. I think it's one of the best Mario games in recent memory.
It is, but you did say family play and you did complain about the multiplayer being kind of janky.
Yeah, but I think for family game, it's also, what's family friendly? What's the kind of game you could give a kid, And I think Mario Wonder is solid.
Sonic has a gun.
I mean, Disney, when you think about it, it's like, it's Disney.
I heard that Disney Illusion Island is kind of a sleeper, it's kind of a hidden gem. Like, I've heard decent things about it. It's a good kids first Metroidvania game. I like Mario Wonder, but Garrett's saying Sonic Superstar, so Zayd, I think you're gonna have to be the tiebreaker.
I like Mario more than Sonic.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
I've never beaten a Sonic game.
Wait!
You never hear Mario saying, "Chili dog, you're too slow."
It's alright. I still love you, Zayd, even though you just broke my heart.
Who wouldn't love me?
Alright, fighting game.
Best fighting game. God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, which is Mortal Kombat 12 or whatever?
Yeah.
It's the second Mortal Kombat one. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. So you guys already know what I said about Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
The only other one of these I played is Mortal Kombat 1, and I did play the first Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. I have not played the second one yet, but from what I've heard, it is just significantly better. It's just an overall improvement from the first game, so it has that going for it. Mortal Kombat 1 is alright, but it just didn't quite click with me as much as Street Fighter 6 did.
The only one I've played of these is Mortal Kombat 1. I'm just gonna give it to that one myself by default. But based on what you've said, I wouldn't mind giving it to Street Fighter 6.
I think Street Fighter 6 is a better step in the right direction for the series, whereas Mortal Kombat 1 just feels like more Mortal Kombat.
I'm gonna be honest, more Mortal Kombat fans, that's what they're looking for, is just more Mortal Kombat. From what my experience is, at least. Maybe there's a lot of fans that I just don't know about that want something different.
But Street Fighter 6 gives old players what they want while also catering to new players. It's innovative.
I'm willing to give it to Street Fighter 6.
Alright, so are we feeling Street Fighter 6?
That works for me.
Yay!
Moving right along. On to Best RPG. Oh, this is a stacked...
Baldur's Gate 3.
We got Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. Okay, I have played all of these except Starfield because I don't have an Xbox and I don't want to get it on PC.
Starfield is fart booty.
From what I've heard of Starfield is that it did good at first, but then it dropped off.
I have heard very mixed things about Starfield.
Because, I was watching it, when it first came out, it was mostly positive reviews on Steam, and then suddenly it just dripped straight down to mixed reviews. Something happened where it just dropped off and I don't know what it is.
I heard it's not what people were expecting.
It's Bethesda. What else could you have expected?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, but...
It's people don't seem to understand, and they just keep on giving trust back to Bethesda, come on, you guys can do it, you guys can make a game. But then every time they fail, why is no one learning their lesson?
That's okay, Bethesda, you go when you feel like it.
We keep on going back to their good games, thinking that that's the same company.
But here's the thing, even their good games, one of their best titles ever, Skyrim, is a hot mess. It's still like not, if a game like that got released today, it would have been thrown in a dumpster somewhere. People would shit all over it.
I will say, okay, 2 of these games speak out to me, and that's Baldur's Gate, of course, and Lies of P. So, me and you, Chase, I don't know about you, Zaid, but me and Chase have kind of talked about Lies of P when we were playing Elden Ring, and we were talking about this sort of Soulsborne game, and I tried the demo. I haven't bought the game and went through it yet, so please don't spoil anything, Chase, if you're going to review Lies of P here. But overall, I think it's a really solid game, and from what you have said, Chase, it's a lot like Bloodborne, which it is. I played that demo, and I love the combat that it seems like it's super hard, but it's not so hard to where it's not manageable, and you have so perfect customization of the weapon and the tools you use, and as well as I don't know what they call the magic in this one again. What do they call them? It's not souls, it's
Legion or something like that.
Yeah, and really, I think it's an overall solid game, especially from a smaller company.
Yeah. It's really between Baldur's Gate 3 and Lies of P. Lies of P is just a solid, well-polished game. It is hitting those highs that a FromSoft game you would expect from one of them. It's very much scratching that Sekiro Bloodborne itch that I've been craving for a while. It does have a few quality of life improvements necessary. Like there were a few things that I didn't really care for. I thought the enemies were a bit over-aggressive at times where I'm like, okay, can you stop attacking me for like a split second? That'd be greatly appreciated. And I just thought that there were a few minor things that I'm so used to in a FromSoft game that took a bit of an adjustment period when playing Lies of P. I know, it's not an actual FromSoft game. It's gonna have some of those little, not blemishes, but just a little of those inconsistencies with an actual FromSoft game. You know what I mean? It's not quite one-to-one, and that took a bit of getting used to. But overall, I really liked Lies of P. It is a solid game, and I highly recommend it to people who are fans of Dark Souls and everything. But I'm not sure if I would consider it an RPG.
Well, you do take on the role of Pinocchio.
Yeah, you do, but you don't really customize his character from like you level up and everything. You change his stats and you can change his weapon, but
Can you give him a hat?
you can.
I'm gonna be honest, with games like that, I feel like it's games where it's more of a game where when there's already a character like that that's already into the game or whatever, I feel like more I'm viewing this character's journey just through their eyes. But I don't feel like I'm actually taking on their role. But when it's a game where it's my character, this is a character I've designed, this is me, and I'm taking this role and doing this journey, that to me is what an RPG is.
So, Sea of Stars, I played a little bit of it. It's cute, it's nice, it's a good indie RPG, but it didn't really leave too much of an impression on me. Final Fantasy 16, so Final Fantasy 16 is kind of like the opposite of Fire Emblem Engage for me, where the story, characters, and presentation, top-notch. The voice acting, phenomenal. The major icon set pieces, the climactic boss battles, just so good. The visuals, the music, it is hitting those highs, but the gameplay is so generic and simplified. It's like, I'm sorry, but Final Fantasy 16 felt like a chore to play. It had a lot of high highs, but a lot of very dull lows for me. The side quests were so repetitive and boring. The supporting cast just felt so there, they didn't really contribute anything. Final Fantasy 16 is one of the most 50-50 game experiences I've had, where on one hand, look at all this cool, amazing stuff, but on the other hand, wow, this is so dull and boring. Oh my god, get to the cool stuff. Oh my god, the cool stuff! Like, that's basically what my entire experience with Final Fantasy 16 was. 1 minute, you're riding that roller coaster, you're at the peak, you're dropping down, and the next minute, you're back in line waiting for the next one.
It's like a road trip where you just have like the stops that you go to where it's like, oh, let's go see this thing. So you see that thing, but then you have that road trip where you're just waiting to go see the next thing.
It's a spectacle of a game when it wants to be, but 70% of the time you're just waiting in line to get on the ride,
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And then there's Baldur's Gate 3, which we've already discussed a little bit.
It's an amazing one, and from what I'm hearing, outside of Lies of P, Baldur's Gate 3 would be the only other contender.
Here's the thing, though. While I do think Baldur's Gate 3 is the better RPG, I also want to give something to Lies of P because, spoiler, Baldur's Gate 3, this is not going to be the last time we'll see it nominated.
And I feel like it's going to be a choice quite a bit.
Yeah, so I do want to give something to Lies of P because I do think it's deserving.
And from what I hear about it, it's a great game. I just can't give an opinion on it. I'm fine with your choice, though.
Baldur's Gate, again, that's just where I'm at. But if I'm going to follow my own rules that I set, I'm going to go Lies of P.
All right, we'll give it to Lies of P. Again, I think it deserves something, and Baldur's Gate 3 is going to have plenty of more opportunities, whereas Lies of P, I think, is only nominated in one other category.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with that. I just don't have anything to say because I'm not familiar.
All right. Well, here's an interesting one. Best Action Adventure Game. So we got Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I would have to go with Resident Evil 4. And it is going to be a bit of bias because I love the original game so much. The original game is my favorite Resident Evil game. And then Resident Evil 4 Remake re-solidifies it as my favorite game, well, Resident Evil game, as well as my favorite Resident Evil remake. It is a great game in my opinion. I love it.
What are you buying?
I love the merchant.
I gotta say, I do enjoy Insomniac games. I played the first Marvel Spider-Man, and that was really top tier. Marvel Spider-Man 2, like, okay, here's one thing that really tells you about a game's mechanic and gameplay, like the ability to travel through New York City, and that is so much fun. It looks like it'd be so much fun to do and play, and it's basically like a huge playground, and that's what I love about open world is that you can make it your playground. You can do whatever, and being able to kind of like get better at it and not really have the need to fast travel because you can kind of get there in a super fun way and however you want to use your skills or use your tenacity and your reflexes. It's just amazing, and I enjoy Marvel Spider-Man 2, so that's going to be my pick from here.
So, Alan Wake 2, I have not played myself, but I have heard nothing but amazing things about it. The only reason I haven't played it yet, it's on my list, is because it's digital only, and I really wish there's a physical release. I'll probably get around to it eventually, but for now, it's on my to-play list. I've heard good things. Spider-Man 2, I'm gonna be honest, the Spider-Man games, the Insomniac ones, they just don't click with me. I played the first one when it came out. Yeah, that was alright. Good. It's a solid game. I can see why people like it. It just didn't quite hit right for me. And I recently played through Miles Morales for the first time earlier this year. And again, yeah, that was a solid game, but not really my style. I don't know. There's something about these games that aren't quite speaking to me the way they speak to other people. But I'm not going to tell you they're bad games. Far from it. They're just not my style of games for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 Remake. So, like you, Zaid, I really like the original Resident Evil 4. It's probably my favorite Resident Evil game. Mm-hmm. And the remake, I've only played a little bit of it. It's one of those games I've been meaning to get back to. I just keep getting sidetracked by all these other things. But I really like what they did with it. It's practically a whole new experience. It just feels like a whole new game.
And it hits so many marks.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor, played it earlier in the year, liked it, but kind of forgot about it, you know, it didn't really leave too much of a lasting impression on me. So, I'm torn between Resident Evil 4 and Zelda because I really like Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I'll be honest, my opinion of Tears of the Kingdom, it's one of those things where when I first played it, I was really into it. I really like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite Switch games. Not necessarily my favorite Zelda, but that's a whole other discussion. Tears of the Kingdom, I remember waiting for it all these years, the hype, seeing those trailers in the direct, just holding my breath. Are they finally going to reveal the name? And then I finally played Tears of the Kingdom, and I really liked it. But at the same time, as time's gone on and I look back to Tears of the Kingdom, I think yeah, that was a good solid game, a good Zelda game, but I don't know, it left me wanting more out of it. It really wanted more. It just left me thinking that could have been even better. I felt like it was just held back a little bit. Maybe it was the Switch's hardware or whatever, but yes, it adds a whole lot of new things to Breath of the Wild. It feels a lot more improved and refined, but it didn't feel too new. A lot of it felt like it's hitting the same notes as Breath of the Wild. It's like, hey, remember this moment from Breath of the Wild? Here it is again, slightly different. I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, it's just glorified DLC for Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Again, it's not a bad game. I think it's one of the better Zelda games. If Breath of the Wild was already like a 9 out of 10 game, then Tears of the Kingdom is a 9.5. I just wanted more out of it.
I think you fell to the trap of being overhyped.
So I guess thinking about it, I guess Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Yeah, let's go.
I love you, Tears of the Kingdom, but you're just in your brother's imitation.
All right, what's next?
Best action game. Alright, so we got Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. Okay, why isn't Lies of P in this category? I feel like Lies of P is way more suited to action than RPG, but I digress.
I don't know. Okay, they probably have to like kind of spread out the love that they give for the titles and kind of then like in Lies of P, I guess you take a role of a character, but that's the same thing in Hi-Fi Rush or anything like that. So
I'm just saying, I feel like you should have swapped Armored Core and Lies of P in their categories, but Anyway, I'm torn between Armored Core and Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush for me.
I'll give it a Hi-Fi Rush from what I know of the game. I really want to play it still. I haven't gotten around to it.
Hi-Fi Rush was just a joy of a game. It felt like such a fun, loving throwback to the PS2, maybe even Wii era of gaming. It's like, it's a nice little game that you just don't see anymore, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush definitely has that art style too to kind of like make it stand out from the normal games, because normally games kind of like go for this realistic look, and if they do go cartoony, it's a little too much. Whereas this has its own comic book kind of feel, and especially with the sharp outlines and the character designs, as well as the voice acting and kind of humor. It's just a fun banter of a game.
Armored Core 6 is what fans of the genre and series want out of it, but Hi-Fi Rush I think is just a breath of fresh air for the whole industry. So I guess my mind is saying Armored Core, but my heart is saying Hi-Fi Rush.
I'm gonna go with Hi-Fi Rush just based on what I know of it.
Woo! Music, rock and roll, baby.
Hi-Fi Rush was just a nice, pleasant experience. It's just a good, solid rhythm action game. It's hitting all the right notes, pun intended. Alright, Hi-Fi Rush it is. Next category. Best VR AR, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil Village VR, and Synapse.
I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking about Resident Evil Village. Like, how many people have intentionally, when they got the VR, they just ran up to Mommy Demetrescu and was just like, pick me up.
Step on me, vampire mommy.
It's actually Demetresque, though, is a thing.
Just for that, you already know, Resident Evil Village for me.
I'm gonna have to go with that one because out of the whole thing outside of VR/AR, it's my favorite one of the selection, so I'm just gonna go default with Resident Evil Village.
Alright, well, it seems I've already been outvoted, but I was gonna vote for Humanity because Humanity is a perfect puzzle game. This game is great. It's cute. I don't want to say wholesome, that's not the right word, but okay, so guy who's only played Portal plays another puzzle game, you know, it's kind of got Portal vibes, but something about Humanity, maybe it was the aesthetic, maybe it was the way the levels were designed, but it did remind me of Portal in a kind of a vague, nostalgic sense, but I really liked Humanity. It's my favorite puzzle game of the year. If you're a fan of puzzle games, give Humanity a shot. I recommend it. But it seems like you guys are going all in on Lady Vampire Step on Me Mommy, so...
Damn right.
Oh, honestly, I think she's overrated. That's my hot take.
But Humanity, you play as a dog.
Step on my throat.
Alright, Resident Evil Village VR. I'm sorry, Humanity. I fought for you, but the giantess vampire mommy was too powerful.
Fuck Humanity.
I reject my humanity, Jojo. Alright. Best mobile game. So we have Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Yeah, let's go Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Yeah, let's go Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. So Terra Nil, that's a nice game, you know. I enjoyed that, very pleasant.
But is it Hello Kitty Island Adventure?
Is Hello Kitty Island Adventure Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis?
Of course it is. Don't you see the bow?
Oh yeah, no, it's everything and more. Look, Hello Kitty Island Adventure is a masterpiece, and you will not argue the fact.
But Monster Hunter Now, it's like Pokemon Go, but monster.
I said you will not argue the fact.
All right, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Man, did the Bluey game come out? If only the Bluey game was nominated.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, best debut indie game. We got Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder.
I gotta go with Dredge. Dredge is such an amazing game.
I can tell you this much, it is also Dredge for me. Not only is there rich sort of lore that you can kind of find, but also the atmosphere of the ocean and just being out in the dark waters. And I tell you,
and
what,
it's very Lovecraftian too.
Yes.
And I love that so much. Just like the dark, just gloomy atmosphere. It's beautiful. The story to it, the gameplay.
I named my boat the Going Mary.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those games that I never really got tired of to come back home and just play it for fun. Actually, Chase, you introduced me to the game. You brought me to Dredge, and really, I gotta say, like, thank you for giving me that opportunity, because not only was its art style very beautiful, but the music, like, for example, I love what is that? Is that an accordion that's playing? It's something that's playing in the towns that really give that homestead feel, but then when you're out in the middle of the ocean, if you turn off the music, it is eerie in how empty it feels, but then you don't know what's at the bottom of the lake. I mean, the bottom of the ocean. And those large monsters, they are scary when they come out.
Yeah. So, Viewfinder, played it, liked it, kind of forgot about it over time though, but now looking back on it, yeah, that was an enjoyable experience. It just didn't leave too much of a lasting impression on me. Pizza Tower was a lot of fun. I think Pizza Tower is a great game, but Dredge just really spoke to me, man. Its aesthetic, its atmosphere, gameplay is nice and relaxing, but also creepy and sinister at the same time. I really like its setting, its world, its Lovecraftian harbor cove kind of thing. I'm just a sucker for that. Dredge is just hitting those key notes for me.
Well, I think we're all in agreement here.
Sorry, Pizza Tower, you're a close second, but Dredge, yeah.
The Pizza Tower kind of looks like my uncle.
Pizza time.
That's my uncle.
Oh, Lord.
Best independent game. Okay, I gotta address this elephant in the room. I don't think Dave the Diver qualifies as an indie game. I know it has the look, but I don't know. Anyway, we got Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder.
I have to go with the same game.
Yeah, so Cocoon, it's on my... Okay, I know this doesn't mean much, but it's on my Steam wish list, okay? I'll probably pick it up eventually. Dave the Diver, I liked it, but I don't consider that an indie game. Sea of Stars, like I said, good enough for what it is, but didn't really leave too much of an impression. Same with Viewfinder, so I guess Dredge by default.
There we go.
The little tugboat that could.
All right, what's next? Best community support.
Best community support.
Oh, definitely not Destiny 2.
All right, well, we got Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, and No Man's Sky.
Community support, like, I guess.
I'm gonna be honest, going by like what it says for the category and like what they defining it as, I'd have to go with Baldur's Gate 3 with the constant hot fixes and stuff they're doing and updates to like fix any issue.
They are very responsive to players and they do listen. I did think Cyberpunk 2077, I think they did a great job this year in addressing the issues.
They did, but there's still like so many things that need to be done, and there are major issues in the game still. Like most of the stuff that ends up in Baldur's Gate 3 I feel like is an issue kind of based around our sessions because of how our setup is with it. Yeah, there's a couple things here and there, but they're so minor. And then also the fact that in the posts and stuff with the community support things and the hot fixes they do, they're just a bunch of gamers and memers. I love reading through it. It's funny.
I would say I feel like Larian Studios is probably on the same level of humor as we're getting from their game. At least they're kind of like digging into it, whereas the others, they're just kind of more like a business, you know. I mean, No Man's Sky has always been responsive and always gave the community the support it needed. But I feel like another one should take the crown, and I would have to go with Baldur's Gate 3 for this one. But geez, let's talk about the atrocity of Destiny 2 recently.
I've heard so many bad things about what's been going on.
So basically, just to give you a rundown, is Bungie laying off staff because blames the players because they keep leaving Destiny 2 when they keep on giving out crappy DLC and crappy expansions that are still the same expansions and DLC that they've had before without really patching up anything.
From what I hear, they just keep on releasing the same hash bullshit without doing anything for real. It's essentially just remaking the same thing over and over and over again, but just slightly different.
I wonder if Sony regrets buying them, or at least overpaying for Bungie. But yeah, No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk, I think, are in a similar vein of how they launched in a very rough state. The players who liked it stuck with it, pledged their support, and now they're being rewarded for it. Cyberpunk 2077, the latest expansion, is everything players have dreamed of. And No Man's Sky, for a while, it's become synonymous with turning a game's luck around, you know? When a bad game turns out to be good after years of working on it, we refer to it as pulling a No Man's Sky.
It really set the standard for what can be done.
And I think Cyberpunk is at a similar level now.
Well,
and Baldur's Gate 3 is, of course, after years of early access, all the feedback, everything that Larian has gotten from the players and community has made Baldur's Gate into the masterpiece that it is.
Yeah, and plus there's the fact that even now with we were just talking about with the constant hot fixes they've been doing, and also just how they address them, how they kind of make jokes about it, or kind of just how they address them in their hot fix notes is very fun too. It's not just clean cut and professional.
So what would you guys cast your vote for?
Baldur's Gate
3.
All right, Baldur's Gate 3 for best community support.
Though I do props to Cyberpunk 2077 for the fact that it has come a long way, but what holds it back for me is that it still has so many huge issues with it.
All right, moving right along to best ongoing game. The nominees are Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact.
All right. So Apex Legends, I'm going to talk about something. I deeply love this game. I was a Season 0 guy, and I played until Season 3, jumped out, and jumped back into Season 7 and on and off since then. It just feels that the game is no longer about the player base. It's now about the few content creators that throw a fit about something. They'll throw a fit about sliding mechanics, and really that's what made Apex Legends so fun, was because of its physics in terms of movement. And they just basically nerfed the movement, and now it just feels like Call of Duty Warzone with abilities. That means it's a downgrade. Call of Duty Warzone, it's fun for realistic gameplay, but this is Apex Legends. It's not meant to be super realistic.
Yeah, I haven't played Apex since Season 1, I think. It's been a good number of years, but I enjoyed my time with it when I did play it.
I can't say too much on it. I've only played a few games of it, so I'm not super familiar.
Final Fantasy XIV, we kind of glossed over it in the previous category, but it's a game I kind of want to get into because I do want to scratch that MMO itch, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I've been down the World of Warcraft hole. I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to get sucked into an MMO RPG for years on end. Final Fantasy XIV is like a heroin needle that's just sitting there, and I'm like, I need it. I need it. No, don't touch it. You're gonna fuck your life if you touch it, but it's so tempting. You know what I mean?
But for me personally, I wasn't really particularly interested in playing the game, but then I had a friend that really wanted me to play, and they offered to like pay for the membership for me. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll play. And so I kind of played it for like that month just because, well, they paid for the membership for me, so I might as well play it. Don't want to be dick and waste their money. But I just could not get into it for the life of me. It just felt so bland and plain.
I want to get into Final Fantasy XIV, but I know that would be very damaging to my health.
Yeah. I will say though, Fortnite, yeah. Fortnite's like really great.
Fortnite's interesting. They did what a lot of people have been asking for recently. They brought back the original Battle Royale map. Like, they rewound the clock to 2018 or so, back to the golden age, and the execution for the most part was pretty good. Very few games have done that. I think World of Warcraft did that, but basically Epic listened to what players wanted and gave it to them. So, you know, props where it's due. But at the same time, Epic, I'm not letting you off the hook because you laid off a lot of employees this year despite record profits. So
you're just asleep and you hear a knock on your door from Epic.
Well, dang, I guess I don't want to vote Fortnite then.
Okay, just focusing on Fortnite the game, I think this has been a good year for Fortnite. I think it's brought back a lot of the older players, myself included, people who played back in the day, like 2017, 2018, and just kind of fell off of it. And bringing back the OG map, again, that's what players have been asking for. Well, here you go. So I do think if we're just talking about Fortnite as a game, it's been improved. This has been a nice, refreshing course this year for Fortnite.
It's a game that exists, and I played it, sunk too much money into it. Don't know why, because I don't really enjoy the game. Didn't enjoy the game that much.
Genshin Impact. Oh boy, the lolly catch 'em all.
Not my cup of tea. I don't really care for it.
I guess I would have to give it to Cyberpunk 2077. I just think that's the best of the bunch.
I agree too, because it's my favorite game of these, and the ongoing support it's been having from like what we talked about before and everything else, I feel like it the clear winner here.
All right, so Cyberpunk, does that sit well with you?
I guess that's fine with it. My vote was Fortnite, but hey, you know, it outbids me.
I like you, Fortnite. It's just Epic as a company kind of detracts from it. But overall, I'd have to give it to Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk is just the complete package.
Sure thing.
Anyway, games for impact. The only one of these I even know about is Terra Nil. So we have A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Sinar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, and Terra Nil.
I don't know any of these.
I just want Chance of Sinar because that sounds like a really cool name, and I'm really liking the getup.
I kind of like Goodbye Volcano High. Like, I'd watch this indie anime. I'd watch this series on YouTube.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'd watch it.
Well, the only one of these I've actually played is Terra Nil, and it's nice. It's a nice, relaxing, like, environment sim game. But I'm willing to give it to Chance of Sinar. Again, this is like the mobile games for me. I don't know any of these games outside of one, so... Oh, and also Venba. Sorry, I forgot Venba was on this list.
This was here too.
Chance of Sinar is my pick.
Hold on. I got a D6 in front of me.
All right.
So we got 6 games here. I'm going to roll a D6, and whatever one lands on it, that's what we vote for. It's a 2, Chance of Sinar.
There we go.
Oh
yeah,
my
they're
God.
meant to
It's
be.
Destiny. It's Destiny.
No, Destiny was in the last category.
Oh, what's next? Vote for this sucker and let's move on to the next. I have no idea.
Right. I just had to put the dice away. All right. Innovation in accessibility. All right. So we got Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6.
Okay, I don't think Diablo 4, it just felt like the same stuff. It doesn't really feel any different or innovative in any way.
Well, this category is accessibility, you know, recognizing software and hardware.
Oh, that kind of thing? Oh, well, then I have no idea. Because the only game on here that I have played is Diablo 4.
I may have to give it to Street Fighter 6 because its simplified controls fixed my skill issue.
All right, Street Fighter 6 it is then.
Well, Hi-Fi Rush also had a lot of stuff going for it as well.
Then my vote is Hi-Fi Rush because I like Hi-Fi Rush.
But then again, Marvel Spider-Man 2, I've heard...
You stop it.
All right. I guess Hi-Fi Rush?
I can't really put in any kind of real input on that then.
All right, Hi-Fi Rush. Best performance. All right, so we got some good voice actors here. We got Ben Starr for Final Fantasy 16. Cameron Monaghan, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Idris Elba, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. Mulaney Libbard, Alan Wake 2. Neil Newborn, Baldur's Gate 3. And Yuri Lowenthal for Spider-Man 2.
Idris Elba is just my favorite actor in terms of game acting. It's just, I think it's his charm that he brings to his characters, even though he kind of stereotypical characters. I do feel like he gives us the acting to where we want to get to know more about the characters and knows what the writing is going for. So that's why I choose Idris.
Idris Elba is just a phenomenal, stellar actor. He has such a presence. But Ben Starr, so he played Clive in Final Fantasy 16, the main character, and he didn't do a bad job, kind of stoic, but that's kind of the point of the character. He could yell Joshua pretty well, he's got that down. But Ralph Ineson as Sid stole the spotlight for me. He was the main highlight voice performance, in my opinion, throughout that game. I could listen to Sid talk for hours.
Yeah.
Neil Newbon, so he voiced Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3, I believe. And yeah, honestly, you could pick any of the main characters in Baldur's Gate 3 and it would make sense. I thought the voice acting in that game in general was top-notch.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, to understand like how he is, you have to kind of play through a game with him in your party quite a bit to really be able to grasp like how much like goes on with him.
Astarion was definitely one of the more distinctive characters, but personally I would have nominated Tim Downey as Gale or Devora Wild as Lae'zel for my pick.
What about J.K. Simmons? He's in the game.
Oh yeah, he is.
Of course it's J.K.
He's here.
Simmons.
Why isn't he here?
And Matt Mercer too.
Or even Karlach. I would have gone with Karlach.
Yeah, but I mean, Astarion, not bad. Decent choice.
I think people just like his voice and like it plays off of the familiarity of having that kind of voice, and that's why people like it so much. So that's why I'm not picking Neil Newbon, because the way he portrayed Astarion was great, but it was too much of a safe choice, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And Yuri Lowenthal for Spider-Man 2. So I liked him as Peter Parker. I think he's a really fitting choice, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree. He's a great embodiment of grown-up Peter Parker. He feels realistic for what a realistic superhero would be and can portray those emotions that he would probably be feeling at Peter Parker's age, which I think is mid-20s right now or late 20s.
Because the most I know of the game, I at least can like agree with that because I've seen like some bits of like gameplay from it. He does a really good job with it.
Yeah, I think his role as Peter Parker is probably one of his best roles, I gotta say.
All right, I'm with Idris.
That's fine with me. I mean, I got no argument.
All right, Idris Elba.
Look at him staring through the curtains being like, yeah, you chose me.
Hey.
Best audio design.
Ooh, Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, well, we got the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Dead Space Remake, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Hi-Fi Rush.
I mean, Hi-Fi Rush, but Resident Evil 4 Remake, the atmosphere, the sound effects.
But they also had something to build on. I guess, like with Resident Evil 4 does have amazing kind of direction in sort of creating this atmosphere of, well, evil, I guess. But it's just the hi-fi...
I was just going to say, Dead Space Remake, granted it's been a long time since I played Dead Space Remake, it came out at the start of the year, but I remember just being impressed by how immersive the audio was in that game, but again, it's been a while.
I'm gonna go with Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, it's like, Resident Evil 4, like, yes, great sound design and everything, but... Hi-Fi Rush, I've listened to a lot of it, and it's like, it sounds really good.
I think I'd have to give it to Hi-Fi Rush, because the whole gimmick of its game is the sound, its music, keeping to the beat, keeping to the rhythm.
Yeah, it's more than just, like, atmosphere and sound, it's also the game itself.
Right. And I especially love the detail they give to every single sound, such as like playing a little bit of a crappy tune when you hit people with a guitar.
Yeah, okay. Hi-Fi Rush is deserving. All right, next category. Best Score and Music. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
I'll have to give it Baldur's Gate 3.
This is a stat category again.
Right now, I'm in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate 3, and I've been in it for a while. And through all the acts are really good, just like background soundtracks. It's amazing. The scores in it, the orchestrals, great. It's like, this music in that is amazing.
I mean, yeah, the music in Baldur's Gate 3 is pretty good, but I'm kind of leaning towards Final Fantasy 16, because here's the thing. I like the music in Hi-Fi Rush, and I like the music in Tears of the Kingdom, but I actually do listen to some of the music from Final Fantasy 16 in my downtime. Like,
give me a music score to listen to, that because like I want to listen to this music score that you keep talking about.
All right, so look up Icon Battle, or like the main battle theme or something like that from Final Fantasy 16. Well, it plays specifically during an Icon Battle.
16 bells, maybe?
Then there's also the Titan Lost theme, which was a bit unusual for the soundtrack. It's a bit of a different tune, but I vibe with it, you know? I was rocking my head back and forth to it. Also, I just want to point out, Octopath Traveler 2 got snubbed for this. Where is that game? That game should be in this category, but Even Lies of P, I would argue, had some good music in it. The music records you collect and play in the hotel, I liked them. They were very melancholic and solemn.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, it's just not my taste. I know this is your taste, Chase, but
I like it, but it's just like, I just don't like sit there and like, there's something about Baldur's Gate 3 with the atmosphere that it also adds onto it. It just adds so many more layers to what I'm doing.
Well, Final Fantasy 16 does that as well.
Well, let me tell you something how I feel. So, with the Titan OST that you recommended me, because the first one I did like I did like that soundtrack. It was really cool, but you know, if some of the music is kind of like having these sort of lyrics in the background and kind of sounding more modern.
The Titan one is kind of a one-time thing in the game. The rest of the music isn't like that.
Okay, let me listen to it again. Let me give it another chance. Seems...
Oh, you could look up like the main score. Like, I just think overall the music of Final Fantasy 16 is one of its highlights. Keep in mind, a lot of these songs, you gotta really listen to the whole thing to get the full experience with it. Just a few snippets isn't gonna do it.
The issue is, I'm not gonna be able to just listen to this music and understand, because, like, part of my thing with Baldur's Gate 3 is how it is to listen to it while playing the game. Because I feel like when it comes to this kind of category, that's what it really, you have to kind of go for. And so it's like, I can't really compare with it if I'm not playing the game.
Right, well, I think we've come to an impasse of an issue here, where you guys have not played Final Fantasy 16, so you aren't getting the full experience with it. I'm not denying Baldur's Gate 3's music isn't good. It is. I'm just saying Final Fantasy 16 is even better.
I'm just saying, like, now that we're in Act 3, well, you gotta give Act 3 a chance. It's like, you'll just be sitting there and just listening to the music.
I don't know, when I think of a battle theme because I listened to the quest battle theme. When I think of a battle theme, I think of this sort of music. It doesn't really make me, like, give me goosebumps. I like it when fighting music gives me goosebumps because it makes me feel like I'm immersed in the game a little bit. I guess I gotta play the game to really enjoy it, because really the musical score, like you said, is going with it. But right now, just kind of listening it on my own, I will say probably Baldur's Gate 3 for me.
All right, I'll go with Baldur's Gate 3, even though I think Final Fantasy 16 is more deserving, but all right. Best Art Direction. So we got Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Mario Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom. So, Tears of the Kingdom, again, it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they both look really good. But I'm gonna be that guy. I think for Tears of the Kingdom, the Switch's hardware is kinda holding it back. Like, it still looks good, but again, this is my problem with Tears of the Kingdom, is it's good, but I've seen all this before. I've played Breath of the Wild. Mario Wonder.
It's just like a 3D Mario game.
I mean, they do some interesting things with it. They do take a lot of Mario's aesthetics and twist them around and do some new stuff to it.
Yeah, but from what I've seen of it, it's nothing like that just stands out compared to across, like, against other games. I mean, sure, it stands out compared to other Mario games, but when you compare it to, like, so many others, it's kind of like,
I suppose. Lies of P.
Great environment, great atmosphere, and as well as great boss design as well.
I mean, from what I just see from this, like, picture here, I like its design a lot. I like its kind of like gothic design that it has going for it.
I mean, I'm just biased because I love this sort of fantasy time period it's going in, this late 1800s, very early 20th century setting. It's taking a lot from Bloodborne, which is a game that I also really vibe with aesthetically and setting-wise. And Lies of P, I think, is a good-looking game. I really like its world. I like the city of Krat. Its time period, again, I just have a personal bias for because I just really like that whole look. But Hi-Fi Rush...
Oh yeah, I'm looking through like a lot of the images that online and stuff like that, just like screenshots. I really, really loving the design of the game.
But Hi-Fi Rush also looked pretty cool too. I really like its comic book Saturday morning cartoon vibe.
My thing is though with like Hi-Fi Rush, I like it, but something about Lies of P just looks amazing.
I'm looking at Alan Wake 2 right now, just to kind of like at least give that some sort of credit, because like it's shown up multiple times. It seems like it's going to be...
I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. Everyone I know who's played it says, dude, you gotta play this one.
Yeah, so I'd have to give it to Lies of P.
I will say Hi-Fi Rush for my own vote, but I know we're probably going to go Lies of P.
I mean, also it reminds me a lot of stuff like from Dark Souls and Elden Ring, so it's like I love that design.
I feel like Hi-Fi Rush and Lies of P for art direction, it's what are you in the mood for? What kind of flavor do you want? Do you want to watch some high-octane, energetic, uplifting anime, or something dark and broody? Do you want to watch an HBO prestige drama?
Well, for me, like, if I was going to choose, like, what I want to play more based around, like, the art style, it's always going to kind of land on Lies of P. But if it's gameplay, then there'd be more of a switch up. But we're talking about art. And I would have to go Lies of P.
For me, personally, the character kind of design, sometimes, like, okay, so, like, I know Pinocchio is supposed to be a puppet, but I guess I just wanted more out of it, and I don't know. It's just the face. The face and hair just make it look way too...
Let me put it this way. Lies of P, it is a good-looking game, but have you played a FromSoft game before is the thing. Whereas Hi-Fi Rush, how many other games look like Hi-Fi Rush?
Probably a lot.
I mean, it's not the first game to be, like, cel-shaded or anything, far from it. I'm just saying, like, Lies of P looks good, but I've seen this before. I've played Bloodborne. I've played Dark Souls. Hi-Fi Rush, there's not many games out there that look like it.
I mean, if we're gonna go base purely on uniqueness, then sure, Hi-Fi Rush.
Alright, I love you, Lies of P. You're a great-looking game, but I'm gonna have to give it to Hi-Fi Rush just because of how distinct it is.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna fight you on, like, an argument you're making when it's literally the same argument I made on Alan Wake 2.
Alright, what's next?
We're almost to the end here. Best Narrative. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2.
Specifically Phantom Liberty DLC.
I think Final Fantasy 16, its story is one of the stronger elements, but I think it peaks in the first half. I think in the second half, it does get a bit more generic fantasy, where in the first half, you got some interesting ideas and concepts going on. Second half, you're just kind of like, oh, we're just going through the tropes again. Like, oh, we've been down this road before. Alan Wake 2, I've heard amazing things about its story, its narrative. I've heard this is immersive. This is super engaging storytelling. It's pushing the boundaries of a plot in a game.
Also in Baldur's Gate, you also have those side quests that are way too detailed than they should be.
Yes, I mean, it's so amazing. Like, I have so much I want to say about the story of this game. The fact that, like, the entire story feels amazing. It's very solid to me. I don't have too much I can poke at. And when it comes to fantasy, this is what I'm almost always looking for in a video game. It's very compelling. The characters are very compelling. Not just, like, all your side characters have their own unique storylines to them. So there's so many more stories going on. And even outside that, you have just random NPCs with unique stories, and the mission side quests aren't just there as filler. They actually have their own feel to them, as if they're their own story to invest into. Like, there's so much.
And there's so many branching narratives, too. Every choice you make can lead to a whole new plotline, a whole new story development.
Yes. It's amazing work they've done, and I cannot speak any higher for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is the perfect middle ground of the players' choices and the developers meeting them halfway. This game is very reactive. It feels very organic based on the decisions you make that influence the story. And there are so many alternate routes you can take in the game's narrative.
There's so many times where you could literally just ally or fight something, and it's like, it completely shifts like what happens later on. There are consequences to doing one thing or way. Doing one thing can completely shut you off from another section of the game, and you will not even know until you play through it again.
If you can go through a story and still have a lot missing from the story and still be able to play it and still feel like you had an overall great experience, that is great storytelling.
It also gives you a bit of freedom to sort of put in your own headcanons and make up your own personal story, like we are with The Legend of Wendell.
Yes.
Yeah, like with what's going on during the game outside of what's just being said by the game.
Yeah, alright, Baldur's Gate 3 it is.
Like, for something to make me go into a chase rant, you know I have to be passionate about it.
Ah, shit. Best game direction.
Baldur's Gate 3!
Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Mario Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom.
Baldur's Gate 3, again.
I can't choose anything else.
I think Tears of the Kingdom might be a contender for this one.
Okay.
I will say that, like, Baldur's Gate gets a lot of influence from D&D. So I guess, like, for innovation...
That's because it is the D&D video game.
What do you have to say about Tears of the Kingdom that makes it so innovative from other open world RPGs?
I'll say this real quick. It is Baldur's Gate 3. Might not be innovative for games in general, but when it comes to video games, it is innovative.
Yeah, I mean, if you've played a classic RPG like Mass Effect or Neverwinter back in the day, it's hitting those same notes. Much more modern.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much more to it, though.
So there's two games I want to talk about for this category, is Tears of the Kingdom and Alan Wake 2. So Tears of the Kingdom, the new abilities you get in this game, they do give you a lot of wiggle room. Being able to build objects, stitch them together, apply turbines to them or wheels.
It sounds like Zelda Map Maker.
Well, I'd say it's more like Zelda Fortnite in a way. Like, you can build vehicles. You can build a glider, put a jet engine on it, and just launch yourself into space. I've seen people build mech suits. I've seen people build robots out of sticks and stones. Why the fuck not?
You ever just play Minecraft with a few mods?
I mean, spoiler a little bit. I'm not going to directly say it, but if you know, you know. Dragon Tales, Dragon Tales. Like,
What the like, does he fall in love with the dragon?
would you still love me if I was a worm? And of course, you got Ganondorf, like, ooh. But enough about husbandos. I just think that Nintendo, they played it a bit safe, but they did kind of go out of their comfort zone a little bit with Tears of the Kingdom. But I don't think they went far enough. Now, Alan Wake 2, again, everything I've heard about this, everything I've seen about this, which isn't much because I do intend to play Alan Wake 2, and I want to go into it as spoiler-free, as blind as possible, but I think for this category, game direction, for creative vision and innovation, I gotta give it to Alan Wake 2. If everything I've heard about it is to be believed, this is pushing game design forward.
I will say that kind of sound like pandering to the people that you say it's a good game instead of your own personal experience. I don't know. Does it follow the same thing as Resident Evil? Because, like, to me, that's not innovative or creative vision.
From what I've heard, it starts off like a Resident Evil game, but it turns into something more as you go along. It changes.
I guess I'll just have to play the game. We have been voting Baldur's Gate 3 a lot. Benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the doubt, Alan Wake. You've convinced us.
Okay, I'll give that. I'll give benefit of the doubt.
We've been kind of bouncing off them pretty well.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like, in the defense of us choosing it a lot, let's be honest, it's kind of hard not to.
I'm sorry, Tears of the Kingdom. I really liked you, but Alan Wake. And here we go.
Game of the year!
I'm sorry that there's only one choice for me on this list.
Mario Wonder.
Yes.
Anyway. And so we come to the epic conclusion, the final category, Game of the Year 2023. And the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Alright, here's a question. Why shouldn't it be Baldur's Gate 3? What are the criticisms? What are the shortcomings of Baldur's Gate 3?
Okay, so sometimes the game mechanics, like combat and as well as the rendering of the game, it requires a lot from, like, if you're a casual PC player, you're not going to be able to really enjoy this unless you go out and buy like a memory base, and your stuff is not geared to render everything in Baldur's Gate 3. So it does have that sort of wall that really blocks more casual gamers of kind of getting into it, especially with it being 150 gigs. But it does come with a lot of features and it is very enjoyable to where I think it's worth it, but I know that it can keep new gamers away. And that's one of the big things about games, is that they should be accessible to the most people possible. Then with Baldur's Gate 3, there are sometimes glitches and kind of bullshittery that I complain about. Like, I'll literally talk to somebody and sometimes it feels like the consequences are a little too much, but at the same time, it doesn't really punish you that hard when you get sent to, like, prison, for example. It was really easy to break out of prison.
Well, I mean, definitely, like, at the beginning of the game, it's a lot more difficult, and it kind of starts getting easier the further into the game you get. I mean, except for boss battles, certain boss battles get, like, super hard later on. But basic battles get so easy further on into the game. But I kind of feel like that's the intention. Like, you're just starting off on this adventure and you're gonna have a hard time, but as you get later on, you're not getting new enemies thrown at you as weaker enemies. It's just the same things you've been fighting all this time for the most part. So of course you're going to be stronger than them. So the main containers you have are the bigger, tougher guys.
True, but it does feel like those kind of fights are far and in between, at least for me. It just felt like, even though I'll be in trouble and I'll be like half health starting off against a fight against 6 people, I can take them on because they're the same level as me, whereas if they were 1 or 2 levels higher...
To be honest though, part of the thing is though too, is like on our game playthrough, like, I don't know how it's been on your own, but at least on ours, it's been a lot easier, all of us playing together, than just going solo.
Yeah, like the Ketheric Thorn boss fight was so much easier together than I did single player.
Together.
Yeah, there's so many boss fights we've done have been ridiculously easy in comparison to just playing on your own.
I guess the power of friendship has really messed up our...
No, it's just the power of Wendell, let's be honest. It's just Wendell.
Yeah, I mean, my issues with Baldur's Gate 3, bugs and glitches aside, because I don't really count that, really. I do think it is a bit biased balancing-wise towards the mid and late game. I feel like early on, you do run into a lot of difficulty spikes. Combat is a bit of a struggle when you're low-leveled, which it should be, you know? I feel like that's how D&D is supposed to be, but that doesn't make it any easier. I feel like early on, how many encounters did we run into that might as well have been boss fights because of how much we had...
The gnolls.
The slavers in the mines. We were stuck on that forever until we found a way to cheese it.
Oh, yeah.
Here's another thing, too, that I'd like to also make another comparison. It also has the same issue as real D&D, because that is a problem with D&D that I hear from, like, a lot of DMs. Late game, it's hard for a DM to make fights difficult for high-level D&D parties, because D&D players just get so powerful compared to how powerful enemies can be. So, it's the same issue.
I get that Baldur's Gate 3, it's encouraging you to think outside the box, to approach a problem a bit more unorthodoxly, but it does feel a bit punishing at times if you don't play it in a certain way.
Yeah, but I feel like it's just that there is, like, the easy way, but then there's the harder ways of playing. There are some ways that I've found that are just so much easier that aren't the obvious way.
Alright, well, let me phrase the question this way. Take Baldur's Gate 3 out of the equation. Forget it even exists. Out of the remaining games, which one would you argue is deserving of it?
Resident Evil 4.
Alright, interesting, because it's a remake, and some people, myself somewhat included, would argue, should remakes be nominated for Game of the Year? I know this isn't the first time. I think in 2019, Resident Evil 2 Remake was nominated as well.
My opinion on it, if this was actually meant something, I would agree. story, but this is all just bullshit in the end, so I don't care.
But the people who slaved away probably care.
I was gonna say, if you worked on the game, you probably care.
I mean, in the end, I don't think I would, because again, I would still see these events as bullshit in the end.
Well, you're not wrong.
I want to switch my Resident Evil vote to Alan Wake 2 because, like, us mentioning the remake thing and me kind of like having some contemplation, it was a reflex, so we'll just go Alan Wake 2.
I will say this about Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like it kind of dominated the conversation for the first few months of the year. Up until its release, everyone was like, all right, Tears of the Kingdom. We're getting one day closer to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, but then it came out and it was like, it was cool, but then like after a month or so, I hardly ever had content of it.
All right, so I think it's...
Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
If you haven't guessed already, Baldur's Gate 3 is our game of the year. I think Baldur's Gate 3, it is a passion project for Larian Studios. It's easy to forget that this is technically an indie game.
Oh, it is?
Technically speaking, yeah.
So it's also Indie Game of the Year.
It's been in development, early access for years. Larian listens to their community, and they crafted a perfect RPG game. It's multiplayer. Playing it with you guys is some of the most fun I've had in a game in a long time.
Same.
And games like this, these classic RPG games, you just don't see them that often anymore.
And with like today's hardware, the fact that they're able to make one so vast is amazing, and I wish we would... I hope we get so much more of it, especially after this game's success. I hope that it pushes the industry to make more games like this.
The fact that other game developers have looked at Baldur's Gate 3 and have outright said, don't expect us to make a game of that caliber anytime soon, I think speaks volumes.
Yes, and I think it should push the industry to start going that direction.
Alright, Baldur's Gate 3, it's the game that everyone wants to be.
Everyone wants to be like the cool kids.
Alright, Baldur's Gate 3, here we go.
Alright, we did it.
Yeah, that was the Game Awards 2023.
Yeah!
Woohoo! Well, that was fun. I enjoyed talking about these games and kind of like seeing titles that I haven't really seen, such as Alan Wake. Maybe I should give that a run.
I would like to give it a run, and I wish I got chances to play a lot more of these games, and I kind of feel bad, like, just not being able to actually know anything about them, so they get pushed to the side from me.
Well, that's why we need to do it, like, I guess next year, you know? We know what we need to do to make this content more enjoyable for you listeners! I mean, we're already pretty enjoyable, pretty handsome. You guys are very handsome.
Do you agree or disagree with some of our votes? Let us know.
Yes, please email us at backwardscompatible@gmail.com. I want the salt.
I just want to say how funny it is to me that Starfield was not nominated for Game of the Year after all the hype and expectations.
Yes.
I think it's because of just how much it fell off.
Yeah, well, I just find it funny because it felt like all year everyone was like, Game of the Year right there, bro. Believe me, trust me, that's Game of the Year. And
never happened.
I never believed it because I don't have trust in Bethesda to create Game of the Year material.
Oh, I'm in a similar state. I just find it so deliciously ironic that all the Starfield hyper fanboys are eating crow right now.
And I'm not saying that it's impossible for the developers of Bethesda and everyone to not make a Game of the Year game. I just feel like the direction that the company's under is the issue.
Here's one that I really enjoyed. That was Bramble, the Mountain King. It was really hype when it first came out, and then it kind of died off because, you know, it's a short 3-4 hour game. It's basically the equivalent to Little Nightmares, but you are set in a more fantasy, English, Celtic folklore, mythology type of world, and really I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the puzzles, and I enjoyed the adventure that happened, and I enjoyed the sort of little character development you got. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see this kind of pop up somewhere, but it didn't, and I was kind of disappointed.
Well, I guess one last question to end things up with is, what Muppet are you hoping to see show up this year? I'm hoping Statler and Waldorf show up so they can roast all the nominees. Alan Wake, more like wake me up when it's over. Oh!
I hope they just don't show up because I don't like Muppets. They creep me out.
I tell you what, this is the best Game Awards year yet. How do you know? It hasn't started yet. That's why I like it. Ah!